Yo guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're talking about the best movies of 2021. I can't believe it either. The moment is finally here. We're gonna talk about my favorite movies of 2021. We're gonna talk about the best of the best. But first, I just want to say that this movie and this video is not the first in the series, because I actually made two videos already, being my 2022 anticipation movie list, so please check that out right there. Or you can watch my 2021 best superhero movie ranking. It's all the superhero movies of 2021 ranked from worst to best, and that movie is also very fun. You can also watch it right there. But today we're talking about the best movies of 2021. Next Saturday, in 3 days, we will talk about the worst movies of 2021. And in 1.5 weeks, I hope we'll get the full ranking of 2021 with all 210 movies that I'm gonna be talking about. That's a video that's gonna be like 2 hours long, but it's completely worth it, and it's gonna be a great thing. I'll making that video. It's gonna be like a movie, and you should watch it like a movie in the movie theater. It's not coming out in the movie theater, but you should. You should hire a movie theater and watch that 2-hour long ranking video, because it's great. Thank you. Now, starting with these ones. The best movies of 2021. Well, and for this video, I'll go back to my previous style of reviewing or ranking actually. I'll give you my top 10, but before we go into number 5, I will give you 3 honorable mentions from movies that just did not make it. And after we go into top 3, I will give you another 3 honorable mentions. So you have 10 to 6 honorable mentions, 5 to 4 honorable mentions. Oh no! It's before I do the first one. That was it. So, no misconception here. We have 10 to 6 honorable mentions, 5 to 2 honorable mentions, and then my favorite movie of the year. So, let's get right into it. And starting off with the last place of the best is No Time to Die. This movie was great and fantastic, and is a beautiful send-off for Daniel Craig as James Bond. And prior, before this movie came out, I had never seen any James Bond movies, so I actually watched them all of every James Bond out there. I started in 2020 with the inclusion of obviously Sean Connery's Superman's, James Bond's. So I watched all of them, and now I have actually seen every single one of them, plus one extra movie, Never Say Never Again. And I'm not the biggest fan of James Bond and everything surrounding that character, but I was a big fan of the Daniel Craig Bond, and he did it phenomenally. And this movie was a prime example of how you can make a perfect send-off for a character that is gonna live on forever. Coming in at number 9 is Dune. This movie was also great, but I hoped it would have been a small bit better, because obviously this is just one half of a story, and with only telling one half of a story and letting the other half wait through Dune Part 2, well, you're gonna create a flaw that is not having a climax, and this movie did not have a full climax. It had a small fight, and then it ended very abruptly, so that's a big complaint I have for this. And with big complaint, I mean it's not bothering me, but I wanted it to be more. So that is the only thing wrong with this movie. For the rest, the acting is great, the characters are great, the story is great, it looks phenomenally beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful movies I have ever seen in my entire life, and I will never forget the soundtrack of this movie, and I hope it does get an Oscar for it. If Hans Zimmer does not get an Oscar for this movie, I will riot and I will cancel the Oscars, because he so rightfully deserves an Oscar for his work on Dune. It's great. And number 8, we have Tick Tick Boom, and people know I'm a big fan of musicals, and I'm a big fan of Andrew Garfield, and I'm a big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda, so everything about this movie already was great before we even got into this movie. So yeah, I was pretty excited going into this, and it did deliver. The songs are great, the story is heartbreakingly great. It's like one of the better movies that is out there. I really loved it, I really liked it. So this movie, well, yeah, I love it. I love it for what it was. And this movie, I'm going to rewatch this a lot of times. Maybe you'll get to see one of those times. It's, well, Tick Tick Boom just holds a special place in my heart. It officially wasn't in the list, but I kept thinking about it so much that I gave it 1 star extra. And now it made it onto the list on number 8. So you can see how close those final spots were actually. This movie deserves to be up here. In number 7, we have Last Night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright movie, and this movie is also very great. It's his first thriller horror movie, and it worked, and you can still see the entire Edgar Wright style coming through this movie, and the story it tells is fantastic. It's really good. But having seen it twice, there was some small things missing from me. I don't know what it is, but it's keeping me from giving it the full experience and the full score, so I can't place it any higher than it is right now, but it rightfully deserves the 7th spot in my list. For my number 6, we have a movie that went over everyone's head. We have West Side Story, a box office flop coming from Steven Spielberg. This movie didn't do any good in the box office, mostly because it came out at around the same time as Spider-Man No Way Home, so that's really bonkers for it. But it's Steven Spielberg, it's a musical, and it's West Side Story. It's really great, it's really good. Everything shines in this movie, and Steven Spielberg directs every scene with such ease and with such perfectness that this movie, I thought it was gonna be a flop. I didn't care for this movie. I only went to see it on the first opening day because I thought I have nothing else to do. But I was completely blown away by it, and it was great in every way, and you should see West Side Story, because I dare to say, I hear everyone talking about it. It's even better than the original 1961 movie, and I have not seen that yet, but I'll be happy to believe that is true. But before we go on, here are some of my honorable mentions. In last place, But before we get on, I have some honorable mentions for you. The first one being a movie you have never heard of, Spontaneous. This movie was awesome. I really liked it. It was really fucking funny. It told a romantic comedy story, but in an original way. People blew up and the entire time, so I really like this movie. Another honorable mention is News of the World, a movie starring Tom Hanks and a German girl I have also seen in Systemsprenger. This movie was awesome. It was really great. It hasn't been one of the most memorable movies, but it certainly deserves its spot in the honorable mentions because it was actually quite great. And then we have a movie from Paul Verhoeven being Benedetta, a movie about a nun having sex with another nun. That's the easy way to say it. There's a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot of story in this movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's great in every way. But yeah, it's visual. And well, we get a scene from our lead character where she gets penetrated by a self-made dildo made of a Maria statue. This movie was great. It told a really great story, apart from being very visual. On number 5, we have a movie that actually was on my number 1 first spot for quite some months, being Riders of Justice, or its Danish name, I'm not gonna pronounce it, but here it is. Mads Mikkelsen is the lead character in this movie, and it tells a great story. It's a fantastic film. If you like Mads Mikkelsen, and if you like foreign films, you should watch this. It's highly good if you watch this, because it just tells the most amazing story ever. It's fantastic, it's phenomenal, it's a really damn great movie, and it deserves all the praise that it gets. On number 4, we have a movie that I don't think you have seen too, and it's A Child of Deaf Adults. It's about Coda. It's a really great movie about a family where only one child can hear in the entire family, and she can also sing really good, and she has to make a choice between being there for their family and being like the talk for their family and being the one that does the communication and helps them with fishing, or going for her own career and having a singing career. It's a really intimate story about this family, and it's really great, and there are some Oscar nominations in this movie, being for Best Supporting Actor and maybe even Best Picture. I mean, this movie is awesome and you should definitely see it. On number 3, we have a movie that actually did quite a lot for me, being Spencer. I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. And Kristen Stewart, well, she is like a goddess on screen. She is so phenomenally good. If she doesn't win the Oscar for Best Actress of the next Oscar season, well, I'm gonna be very much pissed, because she deserves it in every way of the word. She is great. She is fantastic. The story it tells is great. It's about a pivotal moment in the life of Princess Diana before she was killed, or she mysteriously died in that tunnel in Paris. Well, this movie, you should watch it. It's very fucking great, and you need to see this movie. It's very good. And in number 2, we have a movie that I don't think any of you thought it was gonna be here and not in number 1. It's Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie was phenomenal and fantastic in every way. I can't talk about it enough. I have seen it twice. I plan to watch it again when the schools are starting again in Belgium and the Netherlands, because then I can go into a more quiet theater to watch this instead of a full theater. It's great. This movie has it all. It's my entire youth coming back to me. It has it all. There are some characters in this movie that made me cheer, and it was one of the best experiences I had with a movie since Avengers Endgame. So yeah, this movie did a lot for me, and that's why it was on number 1 for quite some time, from the moment it came out actually. But I was writing some reviews that I should have written before, and there was a movie that deserved my number 1 spot more than Spider-Man No Way Home. But before I give you my number 1, here are some other honorable mentions, being the first one, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, or first known as Connected. This movie is made from the same directors and creators of Into the Spider-Verse. This movie had the humor, this movie had the story, this movie had the characters in the heart. This movie was very funny and very great, and I loved it deeply. Zack Snyder's Justice League was in my top 10 for the longest time ever. It deserved to be up there. It's really great. It's phenomenal what they did with the story. It's extremely sad that they won't continue with the story for now. But, well, this movie, it deserved a place in my top 10, but it just did not make it, and it didn't make it in the right time. This movie is great. Didn't you see it yet? Well, you should, because it's the best 4 hours you're gonna have. And for my number 11, so the last honorable mention, we have, well, In the Heights. It's great. It's a fantastic movie. It's another musical. It's another Lin-Manuel Miranda musical. It's another Lin-Manuel Miranda Broadway musical like Hamilton. But this one, they put to screen, and it worked perfectly. The songs were great. It had all the heart. It had all the story. I loved this movie. It's great. You should watch In the Heights if you're a fan of musicals. But my number 1 spot for best movie of this year actually is a movie that came out in 2020. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it came out in theaters in 2021, so that's why it's on this list. And it's great, and the Oscars got it for it. It's The Father. I live in a family where dementia is like pivotal. Everyone has it. Everyone from my mother's side, almost everyone got dementia from some sorts in the past. So yeah, I have a high chance of getting it myself in the future. And that's why this movie hits even harder for me. And the acting of Olivia Colman and the acting of Anthony Hopkins is great. It's so good. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I have seen this movie like in March before the Oscars came, and I'm still thinking about it. And I'm still recommending this movie to everyone. It's not It's not out on Blu-ray in my country, but I'm gonna import it. I'm gonna buy it in America and then let it send to here because I want to have this movie. This movie is the best movie of the year in every way of the word. And I know it's officially a 2020 movie, but it came out in theaters for us in like June or July. So that's why this movie is on this list and it rightfully deserves so. So The Father is my favorite movie of 2021. And there you have it, folks. What is your list? Let me know in the comments down below because I'm pretty excited to hear what you have to say about your movies from 2021. Let me know in the comments. I'm pretty excited to see what you have to say. If you like this video, please consider to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from this kind of content. In 3 days, we have the worst movies of 2021. Be sure to check that one out too because there was a lot of garbage this year too. So yeah, thank you for watching and goodbye. Have a nice day and watch some great movies in 2022.